Hello friends, welcome back to another week of working with a personal trainer. This will be week 5. This was a little bit different. My meeting with her got canceled, and in lieu of meeting, she did go ahead and give me some macro goals to get started with and to plug into my app. And the goal was to try tracking 2 to 3 days that week. I have a long history of tracking food in apps, so it wasn't an issue. So just to go through the goals, hydration, once again, was not an issue. Sleep was hit and miss. There were, one night I was at Bible study, so I was up later than usual. This was the week bridging before and after my period started, so my sleep was a bit weird, and yesterday I ended up getting a migraine. This is actually Wednesday. I usually like shooting these videos Tuesday, the night before my meetings with her, but yesterday I was really out of it and really not in a good mood because of having a migraine all day. So I figured it probably wouldn't be a great time to be shooting a video and talking to you, because I'd like to be awake and in a rather okay mood when I talk to you, rather than not really wanting to exist at the time. So in terms of sleep, is hit and miss. I got my goal for sleeping like 6 days out of the week, but I'm still struggling with the whole waking up exactly at 8 o'clock again. So it's amazing the effects of travel can have. You know, going on to 2 weeks after coming back from my travels, I'm still not quite back into the routines I had before. So it's definitely eye-opening as to how much grace you have to give yourself in these times. I did wonderful in resting. West and I really did spend time resting on Sunday, just taking it easy. And I did weigh in this morning, and I did follow through on all the exercises I was scheduled for. In terms of journaling, it went much better this week. I was journaling in the morning before I left for my breakfast, so I was able to do that. I want to say 6 days out of the week. And then for the big change was for nutrition, and for tracking, I'm starting at 1,600 calories, and then she broke it down into percentages. So it's 42% carbs, 25% protein, and 33% fat. And she's like, this is just a starting point. It'll change from here, and it'll always be subject to your hunger levels. So if you are extra hungry, then feel free to adjust it, you know. And the whole thing of always meet your protein target, and then the carb and fat can switch and move around to fill in the gap to get to your calorie goals. So I was able to track 5 days from the time I got the information. There was one day that I didn't track because I had food in the house that had been made before I started tracking food and didn't have the calorie information on it. So I was like, on Sunday, I'm just gonna, eat leftovers and not worry about it. There was one day that West and I had planned to go out to eat at a steakhouse because we had a coupon to use up. And that was interesting because, I was able to pre-plan the meal that I wanted to order from there, and then look at my calories for the rest of the day and adjust my breakfast to lunch so it all work out. Which on the outside says, oh yeah, you succeeded. You made this thing happen. But through experience, I would definitely do it different next time, because by the time dinner rolled around, I was starving, and I had no intention of getting an appetizer when we got there, but by the time we got there, I was just like, I need something. And so West and I ended up splitting a bowl of chili just so I could have something in my system. And then by the end of the meal, I was massively stuffed. I mean, that one meal was over 1,000 calories. And, to have the majority of your calories saved up for that one last meal of the evening, I was really uncomfortable and was not feeling good after the meal. And it didn't occur to me until near the end of the meal that, I could have planned to eat half of this meal tonight and then half of it tomorrow. So then I would actually have enjoyed it. I would have come to the meal with not so much crazy hunger, had more, pep in my step throughout the whole day, and not had a horrible night trying to recover from the meal, and then been able to enjoy it again the next day. So that's my plan for the next time we have an eating out experience like that, is to order, pre-plan ahead, but allow for that meal to be broken up so that I could actually enjoy it before and after. So that was definitely a learning experience. So definitely a learning experience about planning food and eating out, and giving myself grace in the days that I can't measure the food. But overall, it was okay. I've gone through several periods of time in my life where I've tracked food very carefully, very minutely, and basically that level of energy it takes to do that runs out, and I get tired of tracking and I just go off to no tracking, and then there's no attention given to the food. So from my past experience, I really think tracking is helpful in the short term, but really not helpful in the long term. It's not something you can necessarily maintain. So she has said that she's going to show me a different way of doing it that will make it more sustainable and less burdensome. So I'm looking forward to learning that. Because I know, that what you track, what you measure is what's going to get your attention and what you can actually influence. If you're not tracking it, if you're not paying attention to it, you can't influence it. So there is a lot of power in food journaling or tracking food. But if you get, obsessed with the numbers, and for me, it's just depressed because, okay, how can I be creative and how can I have a variety in my life rather than eating the same thing over and over again? So I really think it's going to be a matter of planning and creating some meals that do meet my needs, that can be repeated, and just start building up that bank of library resources, if you'd say, to refer back to. And it's true, even in times where I'm not tracking food, our family's usually on a repeat of 3 or 4 different meals that we're repeating for dinners. And, whether we like to think it or not, we do eat repetitively. But when you're not tracking, there seems to be more freedom to try new things. But I think it's still going to be possible. And I have to just keep reminding myself of my why, of why I'm doing this. A lot of it has to do with wanting better health for myself, wanting better health outcomes, if you can say that. I really, 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 really have no desire to head towards type 2 diabetes. And that's one of the most motivating things when I'm exercising, is knowing that my body is becoming more sensitive to insulin every time I exercise. And that's huge. And just reminding yourself that this is a lot of work up front, setting it all up and figuring out all the numbers and figuring out what works for your body. But eventually, if you can push through the setup phase, hopefully I can get to a point where it's repetitive. So here's looking at another week. And after having the meetings this morning, it's going to be more just researching and setting up meals that'll work for me. So that'll be fun. What else to say? In terms of my measurements, I continue to go down in weight, but I'm still not at my pre-trip numbers, which is, like I said, amazing to think how much one trip can affect you. I was gone a week, and we're now into 2 weeks. I'm still not back to where I was when I left. And it's just, it takes time for the body to work through everything. So I'm hoping by next week, maybe I'll at least be back down to where I was when I left for the trip. That would mean to take a full 3 weeks to recover from the trip. And maybe at that point, my sleep will be back to what it was before then. That'd be wonderful. But we'll see. Overall, this is now week 5. I've completed week 5, 5 weeks of working out and training 5 days a week consistently. Now, it's not that doing the same thing every day. There's, usually 2 days of walking and then 3 days of some sort of exercise, whether it be mobility or cardio, or, there's something that we're working on. But, making that time in my schedule to say, okay, I'm going to commit to exercising consistently. And it didn't turn my world upside down in terms of the time that commitment needed, or the schedule, or I'm now a gym rat and I never get out of gym clothes. All those assumptions you have about having a healthy lifestyle isn't necessarily true. And I think now it's going to be a matter of changing my mindset about tracking food and saying, okay, it is possible to track this long term, and we're going to do it in such a way that it's not going to be exhausting. So, once again, thank you for joining me. I hope you found something useful in today's little chat, and I hope you have a wonderful week. And in the meantime, feel free to like and subscribe.